Thank you for joining this video focused upon the technology sector. I'm Paul Bowman, and I want to let you know that Barclays and the Department for International Trade have signed a 5-year partnership that will support UK businesses to grow and expand through international trade. It's our aspiration to help more businesses grow and succeed through trading overseas in order to secure their long-term prosperity. Now, we know how difficult and time-consuming it can be for SMEs to research the global marketplace. So rather than focus upon different international regions, we have worked with the DIT and other partners to make it as easy as we can for time-poor business owners to access key export insight by creating a series of on-demand sector-focused videos. By looking at key sectors, we can help businesses understand where the global opportunities are and therefore reduce the time that they need to spend looking for new opportunities. These videos will point businesses in the right direction and ensure that the support and insight is focused around their activity. Now, today, I'm delighted to introduce Jenny Mooney, an international trade advisor and technology lead for the Northwest at the Department for International Trade, who's going to talk to us today about how you can take advantage of the global opportunities in the technology sector and share some practical advice for businesses looking to export and grow. Thank you very much for joining us today, Jenny.
Hi, Paul. You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
No problem at all. Now, the views and opinions Jenny expresses are her own and do not constitute advice from Barclays. And also note that each business is different, and we do recommend that you carry out your own independent research before you make any decisions that will impact your business. So, Jenny, thank you very much for joining us and sharing your thoughts today. So, can you please tell us a little more about the Department of International Trade and your overall role in supporting businesses?
Yeah, certainly. So Department for International Trade, we're a government department. We're largely split into two main divisions. So we have the export side and the investment side. I work in the export side, so our role is to work with UK companies and help them develop their exports. So either start exporting or to grow their exports. We then have the investment side who focus on encouraging international companies to come and invest in the UK, so largely setting up in the UK. So my role on the export side, I'm an international an international trade advisor. I lead on the tech sector, as you said, for the Northwest. So it's almost like an account management role. So I largely work with technology companies based around the Northwest. And my role is to help connect those companies into the DIT network of support. It's to offer advice and guidance on exporting, whether it's where to start, how to grow, how to overcome barriers, market selection, route to market. We have all sorts of different events, both in the UK and overseas. So it's to help connect companies into those events and promote events and get them in front of companies. And then to connect companies to our international network of teams to help companies with that on the ground market research and intelligence.
Thank you. Now, acknowledging that it is a broad definition for a sector, but thinking of the businesses within the tech space, where do you see the opportunities for UK businesses looking to grow through exports?
Yeah, so as you say, Paul, the technology sector is just so wide-ranging. It can be hard to pin down where to start, and I think that's probably one of the biggest barriers that companies come across. I get lots of companies asking me about the US. Obviously, it's a huge market. There's great potential, but it can be a highly competitive market. It can be a very resource-intensive market to get into in terms of finance and time and commitment, and as I say, very competitive. So other opportunities that we've been highlighting recently have been in Europe, for example. Our Danish team are always highlighting how digitized the economy and society is in Denmark. They recently ran an event on selling software into the public sector in Denmark. So that would be something that we'd be keen to highlight. Our team in the Netherlands have quite a large focus on cybersecurity at the moment. There was a huge event that took place in The Hague in the autumn this year. And we have a cybersecurity specific advisor based in the Netherlands. In terms of upcoming opportunities, we are taking a trade mission to a telecoms event in Turkey. So there's lots there around 5G, telecoms, Cybersecurity also comes into that. We have 2 technology-focused missions going to the APAC region next year, and we've highlighted Indonesia, Vietnam, and Bangkok as kind of particular countries of interest, and a lot of that kind of technology subsector focus. There's lots going on around smart cities, Internet of Things, data analytics, so a huge plethora really, and that's kind of why we're here. Come and talk to us, come and tell us about what your kind of subsector is. It will depend on the company's experience as well, you know, whether you go to a trickier market with kind of higher barriers to entry, or, you know, you start with countries with lower barriers to entry. So that's essentially why we're here. Come and talk to us, and we can have these conversations. We can connect you to our events, and we can connect you to our international teams who can talk with on the ground market knowledge as well.
That's great. Thank you very much for that. Thinking of some of those opportunities and thinking of obviously the different ways in which those markets may operate, what would you say the best routes to market are in those regions?
Yeah. So again, there isn't a one-size-fits-all approach, and it will depend on whether it's a product, it's a service, what country you're targeting, what network you have in that country already. Some companies are led to export what we would call a reactive approach. So they're led in by an opportunity that has approached them, and they would be very much directed by whatever the opportunity is. I'd say for services, lots of the companies that I work with sell direct to end clients, which I think is always the kind of end goal, because there's less margins to cover in between. If that doesn't work, or maybe a kind of initial route into a market, if it's a new market for a company and they don't have many leads in market, is to work with either a partner, whether that's a reseller or a distributor. A partnership can take on many different forms, and again, companies can come to us and talk to us, and we can discuss all those different options. Lots of companies, and well, the technology sector and other sectors, grow by acquisition. That would just depend on the size and scale of the company. So there's lots of different routes to consider, and maybe the initial option that a company is thinking of isn't always the kind of, you know, the perfect one. So it's just about having an open mind and having some of those different conversations and considerations, and seeing what's the best fit.
I think that's really important. Thank you. That idea about what is the best fit for each of those marketplaces, given different market practices and customs. So one of the key things that we talk about in some of our other material is actually the key non-financial considerations that businesses should factor in when considering expanding internationally. So what would you say some of those are in this particular sector?
Yeah, I mean, you touched on it yourself earlier, Paul. Market research is really, really key, and it is important that companies do invest that time in that market research. And I think it's one of the things of you don't know what you don't know. So, I mean, it's great to have assumptions and gut feelings, but you kind of really have to make sure that that is proven by data. So really investing that time in market research. And I think just resource in general, especially human resource. So having that manpower and those people having the physical hours in the day in their day job to invest in developing export markets. So in terms of doing the research, reaching out, building up those relationships. There's obviously, you know, a few more barriers in the way to doing that when you're working with an overseas country. You know, there's time differences, there's language differences. So really making sure you have the capacity and the resource to invest in that, and that your people that are doing that role have that time, because more often than not, they're still managing the UK business, and, you know, you're trying to run that. And I think as well, don't underestimate investing in visiting the market, being present in the market, going on trade missions with ourselves, going to events and conferences and building up that network, and making sure that you start having a presence in the market, whether it's an online presence or some sort of marketing presence. We found a lot of our export champions that we work with, who are companies that help us promote exports, they have a really kind of big digital footprint in their export market. So you'll see them, they'll have really localized websites, they're very active on social media. So if they have a potential target in that country and, you know, they've heard of their products or their services, one of the first things they'll do is look them up online And if they have a localized presence, it sends such a stronger message than having no presence and not being very visible. It doesn't really build up consumer confidence. So it is things to invest in. And it really is worthwhile, and we would really encourage it. And we can help and advise on doing that as well.
Thank you. I think that piece about the export champions is great, and the fact that I think there's something like 400 across the country who are willing to give their time to actually support businesses is really, really helpful. And when we run our face-to-face events through the first half of 2023 and possibly later on in the year, we'll have export champions attending those events as well. I think one of the final things that I'd really like to understand is how can DIT, the Department for International Trade, how can you help businesses identify partners with which to trade?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a really simple answer. It's through ourselves, and we help connect the companies to our international teams. So we often refer to our international teams as post. So it's often teams based in embassies around the world, and they're often split into sector focused teams. So I work a lot with our international tech sector focused team. So, wherever they may be, if it's in Australia or Germany or the US. And so then they know the market and they understand it more. They have a really good network of contacts. They go to trade events, to conferences, and they can be companies' eyes and ears on the ground. So it's really good to set up the conversations through ourselves, through the local ITA in the UK, and they can introduce the UK companies to the international network, and we can give them a brief on exactly what the UK company is looking for. Sometimes UK companies have that clearer than others, and that's fine. We can help companies kind of work through that process, but it really is about setting up those conversations. And it's really good for our international teams to know and really understand what the UK companies are offering, because it's more often than not that our teams at Post will be out at an international event, or they'll come across a business in Thailand, for example, and they'll be talking to them about what they're looking to source and what they're looking to develop. And the more that our international teams understand about the UK companies they're working with, the more those companies will kind of pop into their mind, and it will help them make those introductions. But companies can come to us and give us a specific list, and we'll see what we can do with our teams at Post and our international partners in terms of helping companies identify and approach those international partners as well.
Thank you very much for that. I think that's invaluable advice and guidance, Jenny. I have to say it's great to hear of so many opportunities for UK SMEs across the globe, and to understand the wide range of support available from the Department for International Trade, both at home and also on the ground across the world. Thank you very much for your time, Jenny.
Thanks, Paul. It's been a pleasure.
I'm delighted to say that we are also joined by Arshad Dadabhoy, who is a trade and customs specialist at the Institute of Export and International Trade. Now, the Institute is a key supporter and facilitator of international trade within the UK, and they provide practical guidance and advice for all sizes of business across all sectors. Arshad, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Paul.
Perhaps you'd be kind enough to give us a brief overview as to how the Institute supports businesses who may be looking to trade overseas.
Absolutely, yeah. So, Paul, we have a comprehensive suite of products and services, which are all found on our website, export.org.uk. And I'll go through some of them with you. So we have a good list of different public courses where users can go on and book on. There's rules of origin, SPS goods, how to import, how to export, introduction to licensing and controls. There's a whole suite of them. So anyone that's interested in either learning a new skill or refreshing or updating their knowledge, remembering that this is an ever-changing landscape, so all our courses are continuously updated to make sure that they're fit for purpose, are welcome to come and join. We also have we do a lot of consultancy, quite comprehensive, so we can get an expert on site to help you with bonded warehousing, free ports, outward processing, inward processing, anything like that. We can send somebody out and they can help you and support you. Even things like writing a SOP or a compliance manual, we can support with that. We also do something which is very popular, known as the customs health check. That we'll send an expert out, go through, spend a day with you, quizzing you, talking through your processes, looking at your paperwork, your documentation, and then producing an unbiased, fresh pair of eyes report, showing you or trying to demonstrate how compliant you are, where you need to highlighting any areas of non-compliance and advising you how to fix them. So that's quite a popular way of benchmarking or measuring yourself against on your current state of play. We also do 2-hour consultancies. If you've got a small problem and not sure how to resolve it, book in with one of our consultants. They'll meet you on Teams, and who can talk you through potential solutions and how to resolve them. We also have Vega, which is a interim service that we have. So if you've got somebody from a compliance or licensing or anything like that, any type of role that supports the exporting or importing process on mat leave or sickness, we can support you by sending an expert in on an interim basis.
So plenty of ways there for businesses to access the Institute services, though, which is great. Arshad, we heard earlier from Jenny Mooney from the Department for International Trade about the global opportunities for the technology sector. And I appreciate it's a very broad sector, but you'll recall that Jenny took us through some of the opportunities in Denmark and the Netherlands, as well as in Turkey and the APAC region for businesses involved in 5G, cybersecurity, telecoms, and the Internet of Things. Now, as I say, technology is a very broad sector, but from your perspective, what do you see as the biggest barriers for new exporters into these regions, and how can they overcome them?
So some of the key barriers that we've found in terms of from the conversation that we're having with companies related in the technology, and yes, it is a broad sector, is identifying those new nuggets of opportunities. There's a lot of Jenny. I know Jenny. She's a former colleague, and she's an expert in this. And she talks about smart cities and digital programs that are coming out and rolling out with government, particularly in Europe, in the Gulf countries, where a lot of processes and systems are now become increasingly digital. So we're finding the barriers that the British companies aren't cultivating those opportunities or identifying where those nuggets are and where to go and how to go after them. Those are what some of the things, and they're very reluctant to go out because they're worried about their technology being copied or copyrights or patenting or anything like that. So there is a little bit of a gap here, a learning gap, I would say, is on how to protect those technologies, how to make sure that you've patented it right in the right countries where you're planning to go out, where your roadmap is for in terms of export strategy. So you're making sure that all the bolts and braces are in place before you progress on those endeavors, and all that. Those barriers are not unsurmountable. They're very easy, and it takes some time and dedication, but they're not unsurmountable barriers to overcome to allow you to take advantage of those opportunities that are out there.
Thank you. I think part of the challenge for a lot of businesses that we talk to within Barclays is that understanding of how to actually get out there and how to perhaps take away the nervousness of dealing with almost the unknown. But the point that you made about IP rights, for example, is one that, certainly within this sector, it should be right at the forefront of people's minds. So great for pointing that out. Thank you. Continuing with obviously this theme and this sector, are there any sector-specific challenges such as licensing or documentation or certification that businesses operating in these regions may face? And I suppose, what are the most efficient ways to manage these?
So yes, so it's to make sure that you know that country that you're going to be dealing with, it does have that infrastructure to manage your product or the service or the offering. So if your product is an app or internet sort of reliant and needs a 5G signal, and you need to sort of do that know-how and just to understand how much sort of coverage there is in a particular country, looking at affordability. But more important, that for example with Denmark and some of these EU countries, they've got REACH regulations. So to make sure that your product is going to be compliant to REACH. Many countries have different data security. A lot of cloud service arrangements are in place. Servers in one country, storage in another country. The cloud is managed somewhere else. So every country's got its own sort of data protection, data security, data sharing, a sort of GDPR kind of equivalence. And it's just understanding what those are, what those repercussions are, and how safe and how sort of what the sort of firewall safety is. So there are some of those challenges that companies will need to overcome and make sure that there are the cyber security elements of course as well, that we need to be sure that they are managed and they are and and data, not only data, but the software itself is secure and remains bulletproof, if for want of another word. There's also different regulations. I mean, just look at China, for example. You know, if there was a product that was going out to China from a British company, now, mentioning no names, but it's common knowledge that there are certain search engine providers and social media portals that are not allowed to operate in China, that they're blocked. So, you know, mindful of things like that. If you're going to be trying to target a Chinese market, you wouldn't use a popular search engine provider to boost your SEO because it wouldn't be found in China. So some of these common sense approaches need to be considered too.
Thank you for that, Arshad. Sometimes we don't know what we don't know. So what are the most frequent questions being asked of the Institute by businesses who are looking to export to these regions?
So some of the questions we'd ask is, do we need a license, for example? Can we trade with a particular country? Given the light at the moment with Russia, oh, mine's just a piece of software or it's a technology product. Can I ship that? Do I need to register to export this product? What are the import requirements for selling a technology product to an EU country? Do my products come under REACH? Do I need to comply under REACH products, or do I need a local representative on the documentation to ship to the EU? Can I ship it? Is it lawful to ship this product to a particular country? So we get many. It's a popular sector, and we get many questions.
Thank you. We've mentioned it a couple of times today, and I just want to make sure that we're all aware. You mentioned REACH. Could you just explain what REACH is?
So REACH is a regulatory set of rules that are in the EU. We were part of that REACH arrangement, and they will cover chemicals, electronics, metals, and other products too. And there are a set of standards, effectively what they are. We've got our own UK version now post Brexit, and it's making sure that your products are compliant to those particular standards for them to be sold into the EU.
That's great. As I say, there's a huge amount of information that businesses need to be aware of. They need to think about, they need to explore and prepare when they're looking to export effectively and safely overseas. So thank you very much, Arshad, for covering off REACH, but also the rest of that guidance and advice. And having worked with the Institute on a number of initiatives before, I know that the Institute's expertise is valued by so many different types of clients and parties across the economy. And it's so great that you're able to support us with this series of videos. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Paul.
We're now joined by Mike Holligan, Relationship Director in our High Growth and Entrepreneurs team here in Barclays, and someone who's got a special understanding of this tech sector. Now, with significant experience in these markets, Mike will be giving us an overview on some of the ways in which Barclays is supporting clients to grow and succeed. So first of all, hello, Mike, and thank you for joining us today.
Hi, Paul. Yeah, thanks for the invite.
No problem at all. Now, before we start, the views and opinions that Mike will be expressing are his own, and they don't constitute advice from Barclays. Also note that each business is different, and we do recommend that you carry out your own independent research before you make any decisions that will impact your business. So it's great to have you with us today, Mike, and perhaps you can give a bit of an overview of Barclays business and the team that you support.
Yeah, happy to. So I work in a part of Barclays called High Growth and Entrepreneurs, and this is quite a specific part of the bank and within the business bank that supports scaling and fast growth companies, and these companies are the companies that we see as the winners of tomorrow, but we look after them at an earlier stage to wrap our arms around them and give them the right support to help them succeed and really execute their strategies. And international trade is a key part of that.
That's fantastic. Obviously, these kind of businesses are going to be looking for new opportunities and new marketplaces. And we heard earlier from Jenny Mooney from the Department for International Trade, who gave us some great insight into the global opportunities in this sector. I mean, of course, Europe continues to remain attractive, especially Denmark and the Netherlands, whilst Turkey, I understand, has got a strong market for telecoms and cybersecurity. Jenny also told us about the APAC, the Asia Pacific region, with interest in Indonesia, Vietnam, and Bangkok. And I'm sure that we've got businesses involved in smart cities, Internet of Things, and data analytic opportunities that she mentioned. These do, however, present a number of challenges, these particular opportunities and trading overseas. So what do you see? What do you believe, Mike, are the biggest hurdles to international growth? And how can businesses overcome these?
Well, yeah, I think there are some hurdles, and it's not easy, especially if you're coming at things from a standing start. But understanding how transferable or flexible your own offering is can really be crucial to taking advantage of overseas opportunities. And some businesses may consider that their product or service is suitable for export, or indeed can take advantage of opportunities within this sector. And Barclays has really helped a number of clients explore different sectors and understand how their business fits. A big part of the challenge is knowing who to speak to and where to go to for guidance and advice. And the support shown by the DIT and also the Institute of Export helps to demystify much of the complexity around practical issues. However, many Barclays clients have spoken to us and about this less identifiable aspects, and such as setting the business up for exports, ensuring that staff are trained in the processes and the administration, and also how they can do this in a sustainable fashion. Where a business starts with the end in mind and ensures that they are set up to or resourced correctly is really key. If you start with the intention of exporting or trading overseas and you have systems and administration in place, it will be much more efficient than trying to bolt on new activity. But with that said, with the right guidance, advice and research, such problems can, of course, be overcome. There are some very practical issues as well, such as the impact of different payment terms and managing payment security, credit arrangements, and the possible impact of overall cash flow on longer supply chains and multiple routes to market. And all of these can be of a direct consequence on the business's ability to manage its existing operations. So we ask business owners to understand whether the business can manage the longer payment terms that may be required without a detriment to their own domestic trade.
Thank you, Mike. And I think some of those points around making sure that you've got the opportunity to set up for exports right at the outset or at the earliest opportunity in advance of taking advantage of some of these opportunities is key. I think it's really important that we do have that mindset of growth through domestic and international marketplaces. So thanks ever so much for that. I suppose turning to the matter of international trade and exporting, what are our clients telling us about the challenges that they are facing when trading overseas?
Yeah, like I say, it is a challenge, and some businesses may have almost become exporters by accident. An overseas client has, for example, found a website or has been recommended to them. But how does the business owner then identify new opportunities? Where can they go to find new markets, and which ones will be best suited to their products? It was great to hear from Jenny from the DIT and the potential for UK exporters in this sector, especially the track record of delivery. And that does open doors, but the important choice for UK businesses is understanding which are the right doors to go through. And a key consideration that our clients ask us about is documentation and regulation. And the amount of administration that comes with exporting products or services in these sectors can be pretty significant. In addition, you need to consider INCO terms, and these define who is responsible for which part of the distribution process and delivery process. And this can be complex, but Barclays really can help businesses find out what is needed, what help is available, and really help you understand the responsibilities of these terms. Further to this, clients can also learn more about the benefits of exporting and what impact will it have on their existing business? And what we mean by that is what will be the additional administration requirements, and how do they resource these? So, for example, if internally and externally through the services offered by the Institute for Export or a shipping agent, for example. Finally, the practicalities of trading overseas is always of interest to our clients, and the way in which potential overseas clients do business, such as payment terms, and what are the preferred routes to market. Whilst Barclays can't answer every question, we can help with some signposting to organisations such as the DIT and the Institute of Export, as well as trade bodies. And one final matter to consider, as we are asked about this quite a lot, is how businesses can find out about the parties they transact with, and this ease of insight can be a considerable challenge. So it's great to hear from the DIT and how they can provide support with on-the-ground access to different countries.
Absolutely, and I think that having the boots on the ground, is of comfort, but it also creates a real point of interest and a real reason to engage with DIT to better understand how these markets operate in different ways, and make sure that they're almost matchmaking with some of the opportunities and some of the key players within those markets. So it's great to hear that we've been helping some of our customers with some of those conversations through the DIT. Thinking further on that and taking it to the next step, how is Barclays helping our customers and businesses overcome some of these challenges, and therefore giving them the ability to maximise the opportunities that we've been hearing about from Jenny?
Yeah, Barclays is proud to be supporting UK businesses with their international trade, and we've done so for many years. And we can provide practical insight into micro issues for businesses, as well as the broader macroeconomic aspects, such as the end of Brexit transition period, which is a key issue that many businesses are having to deal with. We also have articles on demand content to help businesses understand how to operate overseas and the key issues that they will likely need to address, some of which have been covered in this video, but we've also teamed up with colleagues to deal specifically with trading overseas and how they can also signpost businesses to further help and support. And outside of this, we can help businesses with their payment security, because after all, delivering a service or a product and getting paid at the end of it is what it's all about. I'm sure people will have heard of the risk ladder, and this is where a client can pay or dictate how much risk there may be for a supplier in a transaction. And we help businesses understand what the risks may be when receiving payments up front or on an open account. And we can help explain the benefits of documentary collections or letters of credit, and again, what obligations there will be. For example, if you've entered into a letter of credit, please don't settle the invoices any other way, or you may end up paying twice. And of course, we can help with all kinds of payments accepted methods and foreign currency requirements. For instance, if a business has incomings and outgoings in the same currency, using a foreign currency account can help manage, reduce, or potentially extinguish any foreign exchange risk. And some businesses may need to provide some form of guarantee to a beneficiary, such as an advance payment guarantee or a HMRC bond for duty deferments. And we can help businesses with these requirements as well, ensuring that they understand the responsibilities when using them. And within High Growth and Entrepreneurs as well, we can support with insights and opportunities to learn across a wide range of topics, including management team development, raising equity, access to new support channels, and other key management learning opportunities.
Thank you, Mike. I think you made some really interesting points there, especially around how people get paid and most importantly, their responsibilities under some of the either contracts that they enter into or the product or services that they're taking on board. So really helpful for that informative summary. Just a quick point from me. Letters of credit products are available to clients of Barclays Bank UK PLC through a referral into Barclays Bank PLC. Referred products will be owned and administered by Barclays Bank PLC. A portion of the revenue generated from referred products may be shared with Barclays UK PLC. Alternative service providers in the market may offer similar products, and all credit and risk products are, of course, subject to individual businesses' financial status and terms and conditions apply. There are many ways in which Barclays is helping its clients to access these opportunities across the globe and ensure that they're able to grow with confident security. Mike, many thanks for your time today. It's been great to hear how Barclays is supporting businesses within this important sector. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.